The Cold War era Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty has been in limbo. Now, this has been since the U.S. threatened to pull out of the agreement in February. But today marks another step. I don't know if it's necessarily a good one, but we're going to find out, because this is where Moscow has taken action, signing legislation that suspends the country's participation. RT Sara Montes joins me with the details. Sara, this is very scary stuff. Anytime you mention the word nuclear disarmament, anything that has to do with nuclear bombs, definitely a serious issues we're talking about. But does this mean a nuclear bomb is being built right now as we speak?
Well, not necessarily, Scotty. Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a bill suspending Russia's participation in the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. Now, President Trump announced he planned to exit the pact last October, but the U.S. began accusing Russia of breaking the INF treaty since 2014. Peter Kuznick spoke to RT earlier today and said this doesn't come as a surprise.
Back in March, Putin said that if the U.S. withdrew, then Russia will withdraw also. He signed a decree at that point. Last week, the Russian Senate voted 148-0 to uphold that decree, and now that's what Putin just signed into law. So we knew this was coming.
The U.S. suspended its liabilities under the pivotal nuclear arms deal in February of this year, and Trump threatened to quit the treaty and gave Russia 6 months to return to compliance of that agreement. But Russia has denied any breaches. But later they followed suit and accused the U.S. of breaking the accord, a claim Washington has rejected. The U.S. claims that Russia has long-range ground-based cruise missile systems, the 9M729, which they say don't abide to the limited range permitted under the treaty. And earlier this year, Russia presented evidence contrary to the U.S. claim that the missile violates terms under the INF. Americans had been invited to the event but didn't show up. The INF treaty, signed in 1987, was a cornerstone to global security and prohibits the production of testing of ground-launched cruise missiles with a range of 300 to 3,400 miles. Now, the agreement forced both countries to destroy thousands of missiles at the time. This also comes at a time when another arms deal between the U.S. and Russia is about to expire.
The danger is that there's one piece left of the arms control architecture, and that's the New START treaty. And that expires in February of 2021. And if that is withdrawn, if that fails, and it's not renewed, then we're going to be in a full-blown arms race, 1980 style. You know, now there are about 7,000 nuclear weapons in the world. Back in the 1980s, there were close to 70,000 nuclear weapons in the world. And it doesn't take very many of these to create nuclear winter.
The Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, known as the New START, was designed to focus on the long-range nuclear weapons that pose the greatest threat to both the U.S. and Russia. Now, this agreement expires in February of 2021. At the G20 summit just last week, President Putin said the two sides would begin talks, but doesn't expect some quick progress. Scotty, we're living in a time when really there's more power in quantity over quality over quantity when it comes to these nuclear weapons. But with negotiations comes a lot of dialogue, and there's a huge focus on these arms control issues, not just with Russia, but even the recent withdrawal from the United States with the Iran deal. But for now, all we can do is hope that these countries are ready to come together for dialogue before it gets any worse.
Conversation always helps any situation. Thank you so much for following this, Sara.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.